Harry, what is it?
Get back to the cup!
Who are you? What do you want?
Kill the spare!
Avada Kedavra!
No! Cedric!
Do it now!
Bone of the father, unwillingly given. Flesh of the servant, willingly sacrificed. Blood of the enemy. Forcibly taken. The Dark Lord shall rise again. Welcome, my friend. 13 years it's been, and yet here you stand before me as though it were only yesterday. I confess myself disappointed. Not one of you tried to find me. Crab! Damn, nah! Doyle! Not even you. Lucius. I returned. Out of fear, not loyalty. Still, you have proved yourself useful these past few months, Wormtail. Thank you, Master. Thank you.
Oh. Such a handsome boy.
Don't touch him!
Harry! Oh, I'd almost forgotten you were here. Standing on the bones of my father. I'd introduce you, but word has it you're almost as famous as me these days.
The boy who lived.
How lies have fed your legend, Harry. Shall I reveal what really happened that night 13 years ago? I could not touch him. It was old magic. Something I should have foreseen. But no matter, no matter. Things have changed. I can touch you now. Astonishing what a few drops of your blood will do.
Pick up your wand, Potter! I said pick it up! Get up! Get up!
You've been taught how to duel, I presume, yes? First, we bow to each other. Come on now, Harry, the niceties must be observed. Dumbledore wouldn't want you to forget your manners, would he? I said, bow. That's better. And now...
Crucio!
That a boy, Harry. Your parents would be proud. Especially your filthy muggle mother. I'm going to kill you, Harry Potter. I'm going to destroy you. After tonight, no one will ever again question my powers. After tonight, if they speak of you, they'll speak only of how you begged for death. And I, being a merciful lord, obliged.
Hey there, LEGO fans and Potterheads. I'm the lawyer in the LEGO Shed, and this is the 48th in a series of videos I'll be making as I build my way through the magical world of LEGO Harry Potter. I've been collecting the Harry Potter LEGO line since it started back in 2001 with the release of the very first movie. And for this video series, I'll be building sets that have been part of the more recent waves of Harry Potter LEGO, beginning in 2018 and stopping with the 2023 releases. The plan is to go in movie order, and so, without further ado, let's get started. Today we're going to be taking a look at set number 75965, The Rise of Voldemort. This set depicts the rebirth of Lord Voldemort and the subsequent duel with Harry Potter. Released in 2019, this set has 184 pieces and a total of 5 minifigures, all of which are unique to this set. This is the second time that LEGO has released a set depicting this particular scene. Back in 2005, LEGO released 4766 Graveyard Duel. And as has been true with several of the sets that are based upon Goblet of Fire in this wave, 4766 hit many of the exact same beats as the set we're talking about today. 4766 had 4 primary minifigures representing the same characters as we see in 75965, and the set depicts Tom Riddle Sr.'s grave, complete with a play feature that opens up and other gravestones. As we will see in just a bit, revisiting this scene is really quite welcome, primarily because the designers have made several components much more movie accurate. But at the same time, they also dramatically trim down the size of the build itself. So, let's dive into the actual set itself. It is pretty simple as far as its primary components. You can see here that really we just have one main build, a small raised plot of land that features the grave of Tom Riddle Sr. and a few surrounding headphones. The cauldron sits at the base of the gravestone, and it contains the bone of the father, the blood of the enemy, the flesh of the servant, along with a baby version of Lord Voldemort. I'm just going to show you those real quick. You can see here we've got our baby Voldemort there. I'll drop a picture off to the side here so that you can see too. And then these 3 different component pieces that went into the cauldron itself. The bone of the father, the blood of the enemy, and then the flesh of the servant. The only play feature that this set has is a little rise up feature that's here in the base. And I'll show you, even though we're not going to talk about Voldemort's minifig just yet, I'll just show you how the play feature works. Basically, you tuck him in here, and then the top can go down, and he can rise up if we just push that little headstone, and then he comes up out of the ground. So not necessarily the most amazing play feature in the world, but it is nice to have at least some level of movement there. The set also included a brick-built Tri-Wizard Cup that unfortunately was about on par with the other brick-built animals that came out of this wave. So I actually did not reconstruct him when I was putting this together from my pile of bricks when I had to deconstruct this set for a moving purpose. Let's talk about what I loved, though. I think I really enjoyed the updates to this scene. The gravestone is very much more movie accurate. We've got some nice sticker work there for Tom Riddle. We've got this wonderful kind of statuesque looking version of the Angel of Death. And then we have off to the side, and while not the most accurate thing in the world, it is nice to have a gravestone that has a Deathly Hallows symbol. So definitely a cool inclusion there, but I think that overall, these more movie accurate efforts here were definitely interesting and welcome. We'll talk more about the minifigs and how much more accurate they are as well in just a bit. But the one other thing that I will just call out here is I really enjoyed the decision in our little cauldron to have Wormtail's hand depicted with that black wrench piece. After he's cut it off to help Voldemort get his body back. But I just thought that was such a funny little inclusion and really enjoyed that. But aside from that, that's unfortunately about it as far as the things that I really liked about this set. There are a lot of shortcomings. So in discussing things that I didn't love, I think the biggest one is that we are missing so many people in this set. We are missing Cedric, we are missing Nagini, we're also missing a ton of other Death Eaters, but we can get to that in a second, because Cedric is pretty important to this scene, and the only way to get him in the proper attire for this scene, his third task costume, you actually have to get him out of a collectible minifig series pack. That collectible minifig is also, or through the collectible minifig line, is the only way that you can actually get a printed Triwizard Cup as well. It's the accessory that he's got. I actually have that here with me, and we'll talk about some minifigs in a second, but that's the only way to get a hold of this specialty printed cup, was getting the Cedric Diggory minifig that came in the collectible minifig line, which I'm showing here, and we'll talk more about him in just a bit later. The same is true with Nagini. The only way to get a hold of her is through a collectible minifig line purchase as well. She's not as important to the scene, but she is still mentioned and present on screen, and it's the only way to get a hold of her being through that collectible minifig was a little disappointing. Second, and probably most obviously, is the substantial downgrade in the previous version of this set. There were so many other interesting gravestones and other elements that really made this scene feel full and complete, and all of that is missing here in this version, when all we really have is this. So it really was nice with 4766 that you could just build out a whole little scene and do a lot more with the space than what we've got with this version. Finally, it was also just a shame to only be getting one Death Eater figure. As we see in the scene itself, there were several Death Eaters that apparate to Voldemort's side in the graveyard that night, and we only get one. It ends up being pretty much a big letdown there. I actually ended up doing a custom build of this set, which incorporated 4766 and a few additional Death Eater figures from 45965. I then ended up pairing it with set number 10228 out of the Monster Fighter series to stand in as the Riddle House. I unfortunately ended up having to take all of that down due to some space issues and storage issues, but it ended up being one of my favorite displays I've ever done from the Harry Potter line, and I've been showing pictures here, but yeah, it was really fun to do, and it's one that I'm hopeful that I'll be able to get back up and running again at some point in the future. Okay, now we can move on to the minifigs themselves. We're going to start with Harry here. He looks great with his standard fourth year hair and face, and he's got his official Hogwarts third task uniform on. Everything about him looks right, including the back with his printing and his name, with the exception that he should have a red stripe on his pants. We'll talk about the yellow stripe that's on Cedric's pants in just a second, but that's really the only thing that's missing here. A fun thing that I thought would be good, though, is since we have such direct analogs, is to compare him with the version that we had from 4766. You can see that right off the bat, there's a lot that's basically the same, but then some subtle differences too, like the printing that makes it look like the shirt has texture and dimension to it. Another element here is seeing that we've got the same Harry Potter hair, right, for the older version. And we've got the standard minifig legs that really didn't allow for a lot of age delineation. But both of them from the back, again, with that nice Potter indication and printing. just a little bit more texture on the newer version. So kind of interesting to see what has changed and what hasn't changed across the years. But yeah, there's a quick comparison of our different Harrys that we had. Okay, next up we had Wormtail. And he is one of these folks that ended up just getting a really fantastic upgrade, I would say, as well. You can see here that we have a much more movie accurate version than the minifig that we got in 2005, which I'll show you in a second. It's more accurate hair, more accurate face printing, and a much more accurate torso and pants. It's got even complete printing on both, which again, I just think looks really great. And then when you pair this with the little baby Voldemort that we have, which I'll just put him there, you can see just how utterly perfect he looks carrying that little baby Voldemort bundle. And yeah, so I couldn't be happier with the Wormtail minifigure. One other little element that I thought was so interesting for them to continue through is this metal hand that he receives as a result of his loyalty to... not loyalty, I guess, his sacrifice that he made to Voldemort. So love that they kept that. But let's do a quick comparison then between this version and the version that we got all the way back in 2005. You can see completely different color scheme, completely different face printing, hairstyle. It just, I think it was the version that they might have thought they were working with back then. But it's so nice to see this updated version look so much more movie accurate, especially in a lot of the attire elements. So pretty big contrast, but nice to see that they rectified a lot of those issues that were present in the past. Okay, so with Wormtail and Harry out of the way, we can move on to our next minifigure, who is our Death Eater. And we've got a lot to talk about with our Death Eater. He's got this fantastic tall pointed hat. He's got this wonderful printing on the face with the skull mask that they wear. This lovely printing for his torso to kind of show those robes. There's even printing on the back here. And then we have that nice dress piece that implies the floor-length robe there. All of it looks great. My only complaint here is that it would have been really nice to get some printing on the actual dress piece as well. So that's really it. But otherwise, I think it's a pretty direct comparison to the version that we have in the movies and that we see there. Now, an interesting comparison is for him from the version that we got in 4766. Here is the Death Eater that we got in that set. Now, this is pretty obviously Lucius Malfoy with his very iconic long blonde hair, but you can see his little Death Eater mask here, and then he's wearing this actual like fuzzy fabric robe, and then underneath he's got this gray suit that you can see here. Really, really interesting choices all around, especially when in the scene, they're not really in gray at all. They're all in black, and they've got these hats, so... comparatively, such an upgrade from the version that we had originally. But moving on to our last but not least is Lord Voldemort himself. He looks great with his white skeletal face, his white wand being incidentally the Elder Wand, and black, or not Elder Wand, just kidding, his wand itself that is connected with Harry's. And the black robes would have a very slight green detail. Here again, my only complaint is that it would have been nice to see some printing on the bottom half of the dress piece, but otherwise I think he looks really great. He is much more similar to the version that we saw in the 2010 re-release of the Harry Potter line and then the LEGO Dimensions version that we get in 2016. But even when you compare this version to those versions, you can see that the face printing here is just a bit more movie accurate. So it's quite nice to be getting this version here. Now, when we compare him with the version of Voldemort that we got in 4766, again, such a stark contrast. We've got a version that has a glow-in-the-dark head, a very different face, and again, that choice to have that gray, fuzzy fabric as the main overlay, and then just a standard black minifig set up down here with some white hands. Such a difference between these two as far as what they're representing and what they look like compared to their on-screen version. But yeah, such an odd little inclusion. But fun fact, this Voldemort minifigure and this Lucius Malfoy minifigure are two of the most expensive or valuable minifigs in the entire Harry Potter line. So kind of an interesting little component there that these ended up being so desirable over time. Okay, now let's move on to the figures that are not included in the original lineup here. We'll start first with Cedric. I had to include him because he's so essential to this scene. He is a nearly perfect minifigure. He's got his great hair, he's got his great face, he's got that wonderful third task uniform just like Harry does, and then he's got printing along the side of his pants just like he does in the movie. And then he comes with that Triwizard Cup that I showed before. Like I said, the only way to get a hold of him is out of that collectible minifig line, but it is nice that we do have a version of him that we get to work with. So I think he looks pretty great, and compared to his on-screen version, it's a good match. In addition to Cedric, we also have Nagini, which I talked a little bit about already, but she looks great in her olive green color, and then with that subtle printing on her eyes to just give a little bit more character depth there was pretty great. The only way that you can get a hold of the olive green version is if you get it through the collectible minifig line. I'm just going to adjust our camera there so you can see a little bit better. Sadly, this is our final set for Goblet of Fire, and as such, I just wanted to take a minute to note that we've never actually gotten an official set based upon the third task. That features the large moving hedge maze that is right on the edge of the Hogwarts grounds, and I completely understand why. The more exciting thing that's happening in this part of the movie is certainly what happens in this graveyard scene, and I get that. But it just would have been nice to get an official set based upon that third task, if only to round out our champions and the various outfits that they have. Basically, there's these main beats of the movie, right? First task, second task, Yule Ball, third task. And it would have been nice to just get all of those different characters represented in all of their different outfits. And you know, we've got a lot of shortcomings throughout this wave that ultimately didn't get all of those. But as I've mentioned before, before the 2018 wave started, I actually did a few custom builds and a few custom figs based upon Goblet of Fire. And I actually tried to take the third task on, and I'll drop a picture here of what I ended up showing at BrickCon. But the maze itself I constructed, I was pretty happy with. And it has the ability to actually hinge, or has hinge pieces so that you can bend it and move it and reposition the maze exactly how you would want it to be. And I was really happy with how that ended up turning out. I also did a few custom figures that I wanted to share with y'all. First, we've got the custom Cedric that I did, just with some subtle printing to, you know, kind of get him to look like the version that we had for Harry. And ultimately, I think he looks pretty good. You know, definitely an improvement on the hair piece and the face. But ultimately, as far as the actual torso goes, I think I did pretty decently back in the day. Then we never got a Victor Crumb. So with the torso that came from the second task set, I ended up finding some arms that fit color-wise and did a little custom figure of Victor Crumb so that he looked like his on-screen version in the third task. And then I did the same thing with Ms. Delacour. Gave her a nice little ponytail like she does in that scene, and then came up with some good printing options to make it look like she's in her nice tracksuit that she has with the Beauxbatons logo on the front and on the back. So ultimately, it was nice to finally have those represented at least in some way in my little custom figures attempts, but I would have really loved to get official ones out of LEGO for this particular lineup. But getting back to 75965, I would say this as far as my overall impression. If I only had this set to work with for this scene, I would have been pretty disappointed. But I enjoyed all of the improvements that the designers made for the several components that did get upgrades. And then I had a great time incorporating those things into my own custom build. And so overall, I would say that even though this set is not great, if you could get a hold of a few extra Death Eaters, like I ended up doing. And then incorporate that with a copy of 4766, or even just the component parts for the side builds, I think you can do a really nice job building out that scene. Between that and getting a hold of some of the collectible minifigs in that series, you can really hit basically every major beat of the scene itself. And that is it for 75965 and for the Goblet of Fire. If you are interested in following along on this journey, please feel free to follow the account. And if there's anything else that you think that I should be doing in covering these or covering in these reviews, please feel free to drop a comment and let me know. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day.